Catalina Flore, founder of Fit for the Top. Thank you for joining me on this personal development journey. In my series, Top Interviews, I'm delighted to interview a very special person, Steven van Groningen. He's Dutch and he lives in Romania. He's married with a former Olympic champion, running an organization of 6,000 people in Romania, one of the top most successful banks in Romania. We have a couple of hours together and we try to extract the essence of what makes him successful. Hi Steven.
Hi Catalina.
You are the CEO of a large organization, one of the top banks in Romania, employing around 6,000 people. And if you were to explain about your job or what your job is about to a 5-year-old, what would you say?
To a 5-year-old, okay,
Yes.
that's you're making it really difficult now. But well, I mean, basically, I'm responsible for the running the organization. So I have to make sure that as an organization that things work well, that people understand what they have to do, that people understand what their role is in an organization, and that they understand how they contribute to the success of an organization. It's like having a very, very, very big school soccer team. Yes, so it's
yeah, thank you. One of the interesting things that actually fascinate me about you is your capacity to think in paradoxical thinking. You're very creative. And you are one of the people that are able to have, let's say, to hold two opposites and operate in that, like, failing to succeed or, winning by losing. How do you develop this capacity?
I don't know. I mean, I have it, but indeed, it took me some time to realize that there are a lot of people that find it more difficult to let's say to work with 2 or 3 scenarios at the same time and still continue to let's say to function almost. I mean, maybe it has something to do with my legal training. I mean, as you know, I did law school, so where basically you get trained in looking at a problem from different angles, and that you can make an argumentation to look at it from this side or from that side, and at the same time, let's say function and go on and just understand that there are many different ways to look at the situation. And indeed, I think it's very useful in daily life or in business life to simply look at things from different angles, and indeed sometimes to exaggerate and look at the one extreme and the other extreme. And I think that it helps you to see, it helps you to form yourself a better idea about maybe a situation, a problem, an opportunity. So that's for me, it's a natural thing.
So for you, when are you at your best? What are the things that you do when you know that you function mentally, physically, that you are at your best?
So quality sleep, which is not necessary, and which for me is in a way related to exercising. Yes, so let's say healthy food, which for me is vegetarian. So and let's say and no sugar and let's say wheat and that sort of stuff. And then I'm on at my best.
One of the things I admire very much about you is that you keep growing and developing yourself, and you have so many interests and probably many elements that define you. And you bring a different way of engaging with social media also. You are known as a blogging banker. So speaking about reaching a larger audience worldwide and also having a message. What's your intention in developing in that direction?
Well, here are a number of things, let's say, came together. I mean, one is I always try to find a project, let's say once a year or so, through which I, let's say, learn something new. And that you go once through the process, that you're totally incompetent into an area and you build up your competencies, and which I think is a very healthy thing to do. And I try to find a project, now, let's say every year or every few years. This sort of blogging was one of my projects. Then I thought it was interesting to learn something about the social media, and until I started blogging I was not active at all, not on Facebook, not on Twitter or whatever. So that was part of it. And then again, I mean, I got so often asked for people, what's your opinion about, or what do you think about, and then and I thought my own blog would be a good way to communicate this without whatever I say being totally mutilated by the press or what. And so a number of things came together. And it also, I think it's also very interesting. We talked earlier about email or writing. When you have to write something down, one thing is that when I discuss about a topic, let's say over a drink with somebody, and when you really write it down and it is accessible and everybody can read it, you better make sure that what you write makes sense. So it's also a way to structure, let's say, things in your mind and to really think through and maybe an opinion. So it is very healthy also mentally, so to say, to structure things in your mind, or when something bothers you. I mean, it's good also to write something about it, and then, I mean, you more or less you process it in your mind. So I think there are many things that come together. The problem with blogging is that it's really time consuming, and you have to be very disciplined. I mean, it's not so therefore I have times, and at this moment is one of those, that I totally disappear from the social media, because I know that I won't have the time to let's say once every week to post something, and then, but I'm working and thinking about things, and I'll continue at a certain moment. But I mean, my job goes first, and there are other things I want to do in life as well. But I found it very interesting. It's really something that I would like to continue. But I have to be realistic about, well, how much time I can allocate to it, and I prefer to do it like short projects. So I do it again for a certain period of time, and then if circumstances don't allow me any longer, then I have to be realistic and stop. Better to stop for a few months than let's say only post once every few months or something or so.
My attention is drawn by many photo devices behind you, and I know that you're an avid photographer among many other things you are. So what's the thing, how does it help you in your day, or what's the purpose of photography?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are many things to it. I mean, photography is interesting because it has a very clear creative element, it has a very clear technical element. So for me, it's interesting to have that mix of and so it's great to have these let's say old pre-war Leicas and just to play around with them. I mean, and sometimes you just walk around in the office, make sure that they're all working perfectly, etc. And maybe that's a way in order to also to deal a bit with stress. But it is also I'm also trying to do new things so at the moment I'm building a really big camera okay, this is a project that will take a lot of time, but we're just trying to push some borders. I mean, in terms of what can be done with photography or something I'm curious about, and it is and I think it's just fun to do, and it is also you just see how far you can get in certain areas that you at least you know something about.
Is It's curiosity one of your main
Well, I'm curious, yes. I want to understand how things work, I want to understand how things come together, I want to understand, and I think and I like, let's say, to try to find a structure or how things hang together in things that are complex. And that seems to be a skill. Sometimes I see things that other people apparently don't see. And it's always difficult when you see things that you don't understand always why somebody else does not see them. But it is interesting to be able to make connections between things from different disciplines or things, and to connect them. And yes, of course, the most interesting thing is that if you can connect something to banking, yes, from what you see in another part of another discipline.
Steven, you are an Olympian. You're married with an Olympic champion. You were a professional rower. You run marathons. You successfully participated and, of course, finished 2 Ironman. And I know you have high standards in sport. And I was wondering, how do those standards you developed in your years as an athlete help you in being a successful banker today?
Well, I think there are many dimensions to sports. I mean, so when I went to the Olympics, I was a rower, but that was a team sport for me. Yes, we were in a team, and you learn a lot when you work in a team and you try to achieve things together. But in sports, it's more or less easy because you have a very clear overall target, and that focuses everybody, but it's very powerful. And in business, that's not always as clear, and also the rules are not always as clear. Or how do you measure success? And so I think, but there's a lot you can take from sports and apply that to business in terms of success, in terms of goal setting, in terms of how to measure things, in terms of teamwork.
But specifically, during your last Ironman, it might have been a moment when you said, I can't do it anymore. What mental strategies did you employ then to get you going?
Well, I mean, there are things. I mean, you can think about the times that you were successful in the past, and where you were in similar situations and you managed. Yes, you can think about how you get to the finish. You try to visualize how it is to see your family at the finish, and you can look at others. You say, well, look, if others can do this, then I can do this too. And there are many ways of in it. I mean, I'm
systemically thinking.
Yeah, but also this. I mean, I know I can do it. Yes, it is just a matter of mobilizing the resources and mobilizing the energy and find ways to do it. And that's I guess it's different for everybody. I mean, there are techniques that you can learn. Yes, I mean, you can for little tricks like this, always to look ahead of you rather than to look just in front of you. You're automatically drawn to what you're looking at. So there are all
different parts.
So or you can look at somebody who's running ahead of you and have to try to imagine that you're linked with him with a rubber band and that you're pulled towards him. There are things you can do.
What's the secret? Because you're a busy man, you have many interests, and somehow you have this amazing relationship with an amazing woman. But this doesn't happen just like this. There is something.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think I don't consider it hard work to keep this or to maintain this. I mean, you know, of course, but I think there are a lot of dimensions to it. You know, I mean, there's of course love, there's respect, there's friendship, there's common memories, experiences, etc. I mean, we have so many things together now.
You do a lot of things together.
Well, I mean, we do things together, or we see our children to grow up together, and so we go on vacations together. So there are a lot of things. I mean, so I share in her success, and the marathon, and all the things that she is doing, and we've run many marathons together. So that is. Yeah, I don't know, but maybe I'm just lucky. Maybe both of us we're just lucky. You
just told me yesterday. Somehow, the more I train, the luckier I come. It was something like
yes. It's
so luck is the more you invest in something.
But I think indeed. I mean, we both very much wanted to be together, and it was not easy. Let's say before the fall of the wall. Let's say to get married and that sort of things. And I think we really wanted to make it a success, both of us, and that's what we have done. Yes, and that's. And again, I prize I consider myself a very lucky man, and that's. And I would want my children also to have to find a partner like this in life, and to have a relationship like we have.
So when you look at your amazing wife, what do you see after 20 so many plus years? What do you see when you look at her?
Well, what shall I say? I see, first place, I see a good person with a very good heart. I see a beautiful person, but not only physically, but also with a beautiful mind. Yes, and that is also today. I consider my part of me almost. So that is, just looking, just looking at her is, makes me feel good.
You have two wonderful boys in their 20s. If you put yourself in their shoes, what do you think they see now, looking at their father? And what would you like maybe for them to discover in their father?
I think that's a difficult question. I mean, I think, you know, your father is just your father, and maybe they now start seeing things differently. I don't know. I mean, I always thought of my father as my father, and didn't see, that seemed to be normal, but that was my frame of reference. Well, my sons, what should they discover in me? I don't know. It's maybe. Well, I think what I would like them is to understand some of the aspects that are important to me, and what I like very much is they start to discover a number of things that I thought were important and were more, I won't say lost on them, but when I see that, you know, that they start reading the books, some sort of books that I'm reading, and that they start thinking that certain things are important and certain things are less important, and then you know, this that's very rewarding to see for me, and I just hope that they understand. So go through the same let's say journey about what they think is important in life, or what they're good at, what you're less good at, etc. As I have gone through until this age. What they should see in me, or what they should find out about me, I think there's don't think there's anything special. I mean. that they should find out that all I want for life is that my children to be happy and to be good and healthy human beings.
There's a lot of stress outside, right? There's a lot on your plate. You come home. How do you disconnect? How are you able to sleep well?
Well, you know, maybe I'm just lucky, I don't know, but I have a few things. So first, I never ever take work home. So I prefer to stay longer in the office, and then home I don't want to work. And so, which is easy when now I can do this. When your children are young and you want to see them before they go to bed, etc., then it's different. But for me, sort of the easiest thing is to switch off. I go home and I never work at home. So that probably over time has helped. That's one thing. Second thing, if I really have something that let's say that irritates me or that stresses me, best thing is just to go for a run or to sports. I'm just you run, you think, you do physical exercise. Your mind is processing. When I come back, I've lost it. So. Another strategy is to write about it. So this is the good thing of a blog. So I say, okay, fine. So this is an issue that I think is important, or I really so okay. Let's try then to structure it. Let's write it down. And then once it's ready, and it's there, and you see it, you read it, and you see it in context, etc. You break it down, and your mind has dealt with it, and it is. So those are a number of things that work for me.
One of my mentors, a person that I admire very much, John Binder, said to me once, the problem is never the problem, but it's the state you approach a certain context with. Mm-hmm. How do you get yourself in a high performance state of mind and physiology when you approach difficult situations?
Well, I mean, one of the things that you can do, and I do, is to remind yourself of situations where you were successful, or that you dealt with a difficult problem, or maybe something similar, or maybe something you were concerned about, afraid about, and you managed to make it into a success. You did well. I think to remind yourself of such a state helps. I think. You can also take all the things. Well, it will go away. I mean, it is just something you have to go through, and it's not going away by itself. You better deal with it now than to let's say postpone it, or so you better just take the bull by the horns and just do it, and then knowing that it will be over with.
So actually it's about gathering enough information to go to the essence and then focus your energy on finding a solution to the problem. That's about it.
Yes, I mean, so if you don't know if you don't push it sometimes, so to the limits, you don't know where the limits are. So you don't know which part, let's say, you need to improve or to strengthen. So I believe, so in an organization, so you need to have a mechanism in which people can fail without having or test things or try things, or can make mistakes, better said, or should not be too afraid in making mistakes, because you can never make a mistake that is so, let's say, big that it has an influence, negative influence on the result or on the organization as a whole. And then you will learn from what's happening in an organization, understand what needs to be improved, and it's very powerful in improving an organization. I think without failure in many cases, or without making mistakes, it's very difficult to imagine how you can actually effectively improve an organization or a team.
How do you ensure you keep up with times actually? And
yeah, it is. I think, of course, I mean, we're confronted with a lot of new things: mobile phones, internet, email, but I'm not so sure that means that you have more quality relationships, so it's easier to interact. You get a lot, you can bombard it with a lot of information. I'm not so sure you can all absorb that, but so and I think you have to get used to making sure that you are in control. I mean, it is so okay. I carry a mobile phone with me, so people can call me anytime. But I have now. I think after. And I have 10 years of mobile phones, or more, 15 years. I have more or less, people know that I will not respond unless I know who's calling. So if somebody calls me and I don't know who it is, I will not answer. So I have an assistant, and people can call my assistant. So I don't, and if somebody calls me, I can see who it is. I will not answer unless I think it's really important and urgent. So I don't want this to disturb, let's say, my schedule, and I'll call people back when I have time at the end of the day. Email is the same thing. I mean, I can easily spend all my day doing emails, but that's not my job. I don't consider that's my job, or that's what I'm paid for.
What is a piece of advice you give to this young generation who actually lives in times of crisis? They start their career in times of crisis.
Yeah. Well, that's a tough one. I mean, you cannot change something about the crisis. So you can only change something about yourself. So I think it's important that you accept that there will be many rejections. Nothing because it has something to do with you, because it has something to do with the world at that moment. So I think you should not get discouraged by rejections, and just keep trying to find a job, and also be maybe more flexible in what you accept. I think especially when you're young, whatever experience you have will be of use to you sooner or later in life. So I think that's important. But don't take it personal when you have a rejection.
You are a successful CEO. You are also 20 at some point. Were you ever rejected when you went for a position in your life?
I think many times.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's well, I mean, it's when you start looking for a job, or when you want to have a change, or maybe there were internal positions that you were interested in, and maybe not got them. So it is. I think it's part of life. You cannot get everything you want, so you better make sure that the ones that you understand, what the ones that are really important to you, and make sure that you get those.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.